Okay. I'm here. I'm sorry that took so long, you guys. I hope you're still here. I was having trouble getting my camera to work. I'm sorry. It took forever. Okay, so hopefully you're here. I see. Yay, Lily, yay. Okay, thank you for telling me. So Layla and Melanie, Carolyn, Aaron, Inshira, Sergio, Crystal, and Tiana. Okay, so let's start. I'm so sorry. It took forever. Okay, so I've got to fix my camera here to make that work a little bit better. Let's go. The pitfalls of technology may be awesome in some ways, but in other ways it is not. Okay, so how do you start in a portrait? I start, first of all, by drawing big. I want to draw as large as I can because I like to be able to try to get into understanding the features. So try not to draw tiny, especially with charcoal. I mean, it's like if you draw tiny, it's not going to help you. It's just not. Ow, sorry. Okay, so I start really loosely. Grab some charcoal. Okay. I'm going to start with the whole head. Okay, so I'm looking for the whole thing. So like if this is the back part of her hair, I love how her hair is so the features and the face are going to, they're part of the head. So maybe if this is like the area of the features, underneath the hairline, back here is all the head, okay? And I'm seeing that her hair there's like a planar change right there, okay? And then the other thing to think about is, so let's say I've kind of gestured in her head, right? And her neck, which remember the neck is set at angle. And I'm not seeing her neck, the other side of her neck. I have to look really closely. I only see a tiny little bit of her neck. But, no, don't call me. And then I see a little bit of her back, which is only a part of her back. It's not the whole thing, because then that would not be enough to support her. There's like more back here. But like, and then her hand. This is great. We can draw hands too. You're like, oh my God, I can barely draw a face, much less hands. So I'm just gesturing in the hand, right? And the shoulder, which is very close to her face. So I'm going to bring the face down lower, and I'm going to lower the top because, well, I'm going to raise the face, and I'm going to raise the shoulder, and I'm going to raise the hand. That's what I'm going to do. But it's all gesture, okay? It's loose. I need to keep it loose because if I don't keep it loose, I will regret it later, okay? So the other thing to keep in mind, so I've got this head, her cranium is right in here, okay? It's in that area. And her hand is here, her shoulder is here. Her face is turned. It's a 3/4 view. And so the front of her face is over here. But you know what? It is slightly tipped so that the top, where her hairline is here, but the top of her forehead is doing this. Does that make sense? And then if I go from maybe the top of her head to the base of her skull, about halfway between there, So let's say this is here and this is here. Halfway would be about there. So halfway are her eyes. Not halfway in her face, but halfway between the top and the bottom are her eyes. And so I'm thinking that the line of her eyes, her hairline's all the way up here, but her forehead is tipped. I think that the line of her eyes is here. And it's tipped, okay? And that's really important. Oh, good. I see Stephanie is here also. Good. So I always draw a line for that tip because I want to remember it, because it's really easy to lose your way here, because it is, and that's all there is to it. So the eye line, I think, is here. Forehead is up here. Top of the head is here. And so as I keep drawing, I keep checking these relationships. The base of the nose, I'm thinking if the outside of her head is like over here, somewhere over here, and that line of the eyes is here, that nose is going to be here, and the base of the nose maybe here. So if I'm doing thirds go from the eyebrows I think the base of her nose is somewhere going to be in here, facing downward, right? And then her mouth is, I like how she's smiling, but it's going, the line in between her lips is moving across a curve, remember? So it's not going to just be a straight line, right? I can actually make a line where so that it's in line with her features, and that's fine, but it's still going to have to go around a curve, okay? And I want to start with the inside of her lips rather than with the upper or lower edge, because it is much easier to establish something that is believable if you start with the inner line, because the upper and lower lips the form changes quite a bit. So this is like doing this, and then look at how the corner of the outside of her lip comes out far, but then there's this little pocket here before you get to the chin, which is here, and maybe ends here. Because remember, the distance from here to here, it's going to be greater down below the lower lip. So that's going to come down lower. And because her face is turned, this outside portion is being overlapped by her lips. And remember, I said the upper lip is going to angle down that way and get some illumination. And I think that where her nose is right here, the lower part here is going to be, the eyes are situated around there. And the eyes are foreshortened, okay? So please also keep in mind that the eyes are foreshortened too. I'm going to redraw her mouth really quickly. And her nose is really facing downward. But I even see a tiny little bit of the nostril on the outer corner. So as I'm drawing, you see how I keep modifying I keep modifying these relationships. So let's go back to the eye. So when it's foreshortened, so again, eyes are not almonds. They don't look like that. You need to think of them very differently. So her eye is being cut off and overlapped by the nose over here. So I want to, it's a portrait, right? So I need to be a little more specific than what I roughed out. So I'm thinking that the ridge is here. And when I look at the ridge of her nose, it widens out like this. It gets narrow right here. And then it widens out again. And then the ball of the nose is here. And it extends down low. And then there's a little bit of a corner on that side. And then on this side, it's like something like that. I think that this, I gotta work the mouth again. But so let's go back to the eye. So the eye, I'm seeing that the brow is arcing like that here. And on this side, it starts further over and turns the corner maybe there. And then her eye is foreshortened. So I'm seeing a tiny little bit of the corner, but it's going to have a really strong upward curve. And I'm starting with the, like where the lashes are on the upper lid. And then it's really strongly curving down and around. So it's like a long curve, a long angle rising up. And then it drops. And then I'm seeing actually lashes over here. But then the outside of the eyeball is right there. And then on this side, that outer edge tucks underneath the eyelashes. And I'm seeing some of that rim. And where it meets, it's kind of coming down and turning around there. And then I'm seeing evidence of the lid up here above where the eyelashes are. Okay, and then the eyebrow is above that. Here maybe. And the eyeball is like over here. And because that upper lid is, hangs out further, it's going to have some shadow there. And this is going to have a little bit more light on it. It's the worst eraser in the world. Ooh, I don't like that eraser either. That's better. And there's a little bit of light on the inside there. And then if I go over to the next, like there's light here. There's light on the bridge of her nose. And then, okay, so another thing to keep in mind is, these eyelashes are foreshortened. But look at how, like, you can follow from the eyelashes to this downward facing plane right there. That is like the brow ridge right up here. It's that whole form. But it does turn under as it gets closer to the eye. Does that make sense? As it gets closer to the eyeball, it turns under. So I get that kind of curve going on. And it's really hard to see the outer edge of the zygomatic process because it gets overlapped by her really thick eyelashes. But it is right here before it turns and becomes the cheekbone and then comes down. And this is where I like to really draw a contour line over there. So then I'm going to move to the other side. And again, to set the eyeball, I really need to keep following my line here. And I want to have about an eye length between them. And so on the inside of the eye, you know, you have that round portion, this. And then on the upper lid, you're going to have a steep rise, but this one also is foreshortened. So this portion curves over quite a bit, but look at how you can see some of that eyelid underneath here. And that's giving you evidence of that round sphere of the eyeball. And then the outer corner tucks underneath where the eyelashes are. And it curves around the ball and then sucks up like that, okay? And then the eyeball is here and the colored part of the eye is there. The pupil is there. The pupil is in the center of the iris, okay? So don't confuse it. And then she's even getting some illumination on that lid right there. I'm making her look like a Disney princess right now, which is kind of weird. Okay, so I've kind of got like her eyes and the eyeball there, you know, it's like you'll see the end of it, and then this is like the inside pink corner part of the eye. Okay, so it isn't important to you know, cut off the eyeball right there, because that's also part of the form. And then I think I did her eyebrow, I turned it a little too soon. I think it's going to arc out a little further and then come down more like that. And then I'm looking again at her forehead on this side. And I'm thinking that I see that it kind of comes up like this and then leans back like that and then turns again. Right there. So for me, I'm seeing this turn of that part of the zygomatic process. The eyelid turns the corner here. And then there's this little portion of her head, and there's a really distinct planar change right there that's really easy to see, very clear. And then her hairline comes down a little bit, and you know, whatever, and she's got this great red hair that goes around to the side. Okay, so this is pretty good so far. Now, one thing I'm noticing is that I think this eye is too far away. Okay, so I'm gonna work with this a little bit. I'm gonna move some edges. And I'm going to move that eye in a little bit. So this is where I start to compare sides. There's this really light area inside on the other side of the nose that also shows, again, the kind of foreshortening and overlapping. Now the eyes are closer together. That's a little bit better. Now I want to get the bridge of her nose in here. So it's like I will look for these relationships, you know, these areas of value that I see as I start getting closer to the portraiture. But the important thing is to get the gesture down first, because if you don't have if you don't have any idea of how the features are going to relate to each other, you're not going to make it. You know, it's like pacing yourself while you're running a mile. You know, you want to lay the groundwork first, which is the gesture, before you start building on top of it. And you know, part of that gesturing is making sure that the form is working and is not like not working. Which of course makes sense, doesn't it? Make sure it's working and make sure it's not working. Not working, but working. Very dorky. Okay. Back to the nose. So the base of the nose, I'm thinking, is like here. Actually, in the inner part of her, she has really big eyes. Another thing about eyes is that, like, you're going to have a shadow at the top part of the eyeball also that is really important to show. If that shadow is not there, it's not going to make any sense. Just a second. That should be the same key. Hold on a second, you guys. Yeah, it should be the same key that works for both.
You told me it wasn't.
When did he? Well, maybe that was.
Okay. I thought he said he tried to fix it and then it didn't work.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
Open it from the outside, but I guess he fixed that and never told me.
Or maybe I'm wrong. I thought it worked this morning though.
I'm inside, so.
Yeah, you're inside. Okay. So I'm going to redraw her nose, and I'm seeing this, like, the bridge of her nose is kind of rounded, and then this part of her nose, okay, rounds a little bit. You see that? Now her nostrils are facing downward, right? So all I'm seeing is kind of this darkness here, and not the opening. And then I can go around the edge of that nostril. There's a little bit of value on the side of her nose here. And this value coming down here. And then if you look closely on the other side, there is a little tiny bit of the other nostril over there, okay? I wonder if her nose is too short. I think I need to lower it a little tiny bit. There's even like a little cast shadow beneath her nose, beneath her nostril, and like a light right on the bottom edge. You guys see that? And then the nostril kind of flares out this way, and there's a cast shadow over here. Okay? Kind of see how I'm doing that? And then this part is in shadow a little bit. And it's in shadow underneath here and here. But on the side, it's very light. And on the top and here. Okay. And so again, I'm not even getting into details. Okay. I'm really, really not. So I feel like that's a pretty good distance. Okay. I'm going to redraw this contour line. Because her lips do not break out of the contour line right now. So, you know, I had to redo them. There's this really great light that runs up like that. But I don't want to lose the corner of her eye. So see how many times I will draw and redraw? I mean, especially like if I do a commission, oh my goodness, like I will not stop until it's correct. Oops, that's going in a little bit too far. And there's always kind of evidence of the bottom lid. You can see a little wrinkle here. her cheekbone and the you can see where the shadow is here, and then going over the cheekbone, and then over to the front. You know, so for me that kind of helps me establish a little bit more of the form and how her hair is like being held up, but then this portion is coming in front and her ear is back over here. So if this is kind of the cheekbone, the ear is low. And the edge of her jaw is going to be here. Okay. Okay, so then her mouth is going to be, if I start with that inner line, it's going to be somewhere in here. The philtrum is that little depression right underneath the septum, and then her inside of her mouth, I can see that the corner is over here somewhere, and then it changes direction. And then you've got those two peaks on either side. And then it comes down. There's kind of a wrinkle there. I think her chin's going to be a little lower. But see how the corners do not connect? Like the lower lip really, and it's foreshortened, you know? So you're going to have a real, like you really will see that overlapping of the lips, and the lips usually have kind of striations in them. And notice how the highlight, you know, you might see the upper lip overshadow the lower lip a little bit, but then there's a highlight directly underneath that in here. Okay, do you see that? And then underneath, on either side of the mouth, like look at these areas here, there's usually kind of like flesh that goes around the corners, okay? And when a person's turned like this, it can be hard to see. And it can also be hard to see the foreshortened other side of the corner of the mouth. That's really important also. I need to raise up her eye a little bit to match. Oh, that's better. And I think I might have her mouth a little bit big. And her jaw is sticking out a little bit much, but I'm getting there. Put a little light, so the light will be kind of like a half circle on the lower lip. And again, I got to erase here because there's a lot of light on this side, and I'm gonna have to redraw that. But this upper lip, so notice how it's a form that is like this whole mouth thing curves like this, okay? So on this side, it's gonna curve also, okay? And like, I'm gonna redraw the upper lip so you can see what I mean, but, I think I made it too high anyway. But the little peak between right here and here, it's closer to this edge than the other edge. You know what I mean? Like, so I see less of this lip on that side than I do on the side closer to me. And that's really important, you know, because if I'm not seeing that, then I'm not foreshortening the lips like they should be, and that's not good, right? And then it looks off. It's so easy to tell. Her outer lip, like the inner tubercle of her upper lip, is really shorter. But again, I have to keep it angled that way. There we go, that's better. So notice how the corner over here is so dark, and it's because it's changing direction. This is starting to be on the side over here. And on this side, it changes direction too, but it's so foreshortened that it's hard to see. And then this part of her outer lip also overhangs her lower lip. So look at where her lower lip is. You've got this little tiny little portion on the outside that you can barely see, but the majority of it is over here on the other side. And her lips are very full and very, like, there's a cast shadow underneath this lip, you know. But then, like I was saying before, you've got this like corner pocket. Okay, that's important to be able to show. And on this side, you really just see it as the outer contour. But the upper lip is also attached to the form. You know, so where that ends, that's attached to this angled, almost triangular plane that comes out and gets illumination on the top. And where you see it the lightest is like on the edge where the lip starts to turn under. So like right up above, like you can even see there's a little bit of a shadow right here of, you know, her lip. That's just the shape of her lips when she smiles. She's got like a little edge here, and then there's an edge where the philtrum is, and she's got a dimple on the side here. But if you make any of these things too dark, it will not work very well. It's all about like very subtle relationships. But the chin, okay, so this is that outer pocket that I was talking about. And I do think her cheekbones come up a little higher. Whoops. So my lines get darker as I draw, but then I have to go back in and thin them out. It's so annoying. is reflected light on the edge of her nose that is going to suggest that the septum goes below. And so notice how it's like a little bit darker, and then it gets really light underneath. Like the dark little edge over here is just the edge of the other nostril, and it is barely even there. Okay. And then I'm also seeing, so there are all these little like subtle relationships of values. And to start, so now that I have the structure fairly well worked out, I can really start to soften the relationships. Let me set where her ear is. And so for the ear, what I'm seeing is she's got a little, the lobe is getting a little bit of light, and so is the helix, the antihelix, the tragus, the antitragus. All of those are in here. She's got like a little stud earring in there. And remember, it's set at an angle. And you don't have to show very much of it because it is in shadow. So just having a little bit of ear here, I think it goes up a little higher, and I'll have to mess with it. But that's kind of the location. And then all of this over here is going to all be in shadow, but again, I do not want to lose the form for the shadow. So I can put the shadow in, but if I don't modify it, then it's going to kind of be pointless. It's just... And so when I start, I really will darken. But I won't leave it that way. I just will start it that way. Let's see, what time is it? It's 1:22, so I don't have much time left. But also keep in mind that like there's usually a white line around the very most forward edge of the lips right before it turns under. still think that the relationship between her eyes is a little wonky. I want to move this one. I think I just need to change direction and work with the shadow a little bit. But anyway, okay, so what I'm talking about here is like, look at the round part of underneath her jaw here. And look at how there is a strong light right on the outside here and right here. And then there is this kind of diagonal. Here. And then the form of the shadow on the outside of this portion here, right? But if I just let this stay dark, I'm really losing a lot of the form. And then she's also got like the edge of hair, which is over here, which I'm going to make thinner. She's got one piece of hair. That's awesome. But hair is really tricky. The highlight for her is like close to us. It's low. So it's like right in here that it, and it gets super dark right here. So you see how I'm really trying to be very gestural with the hair, and just think of it like I'm looking for 3 values basically. And I'm seeing with her portrait, like her eye slants down a lot more. Like there's some real, mouth doesn't come out so far. You know, there's some things that if I were to make this portrait for her that I have to modify because they're not completely perfect. But that is okay, because this is where it all of those relationships really start to happen, because I've already built the form now. Now it's just a matter of really refining the relationships. So again, this kind of overlapping of cheek in front of this back part of her jaw. See how short that information is? It's not very much information at all. I think her nose is even a little shorter. I'm gonna push it up a little bit. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Yay. Okay. And then she's got this really great, like, oh, I love this here and here. Ah! It's so funny. I feel like I haven't, like, I made her eyes too wide, and her face is very, like, oval, you know? But I'm close. I'm close. I'm close. I'm close. All right, I'm going to quit fussing. But remember that all of the little wrinkles in the face and stuff, the more that you, the more contrast you have, the older she's going to end up looking. Okay? And, you know, and she's great. She is not super young. I love, like, the wrinkles in her face. They're really wonderful, actually. I hope you guys are doing okay out there. I know you're probably, you know, not listening anymore, and it's getting late. I'm gonna keep going a little bit longer though, because I'm really into this. I love doing portraits. I could do portraits all day. They're so fun, but they're hard. They're hard for me too. I'll have to work out her ear later. Thanks, Layla. I hope that you're all having success I need to, I love how fine her hair is. Her hair is so rich. Like I want to draw it all. Oh, it really comes out further back behind her ear. That light part. It's like it starts from over here and then it turns under and comes forward. And she's got all of these like waves. And another thing to remember is that the whites of the eyes are not white. So if you're using color, the whites are actually kind of a gray color. There's a highlight there and a highlight really on the end of her nose, but noses actually are pretty, they're not all just light on top. And you gotta have those 4 planar changes. This is a great example of what I mean when you're looking at a foreshortened thumb and it's like, what? It looks like it gets wider in the middle, and it kind of does. It's so weird. And there's her hand, all gestured in. And I should draw all this beautiful lace on her shoulder. And then this is her scapula back here. And then, you know, you're really going into darkness back behind her scapula. But I'm going to lay down a lot of darkness here, and then I'm going to use my eraser to kind of sort it out. So, whew, okay, so good start, huh? I know close to finishing here. Remember, don't lose your form in the darkness, please. Don't just let it disappear, because there's usually more there than what you're seeing, and it's important to try to bring it out and look for it. It's not a perfect likeness. That's going to drive me crazy, but hey, what are you going to do? Okay. So this is the fun part. So when I put down a lot of charcoal, then I can really start to look for the details in the hair. And, you know, as it goes back, it's gonna, there are areas where the light is stronger. Okay, so it's not bad. It's not perfect. It's not perfect likeness, but it's not bad either. And I guess I should pretty much stop here, and I'm going to. So I'll make a place for you guys to post your drawings, obviously, and that will be fun to see. And I hope that that demo helped some, because nobody, I swear my teachers never demonstrated anything, seriously, except the printmakers. They had to, because it's printmaking, but like in drawing, they would never draw for me, you know? It's crazy. Still feel like her eye needs to get cut off just a little bit and be a little bit more foreshortened, which means bringing her nose forward a tiny little bit. And her eyes are very like big and wide. They're huge. that's better. Oh my God. So the only way to have value relationships is by putting down value, and her face is so subtle, so it's just going to be a matter of working these relationships. And she's leaning against her neck in this, so actually this might be the one situation where it is appropriate to have the neck get kind of flattened down. it's already almost 2. Okay, I have to quit. So I hope that you guys, did well. We'll do more. I have more little tricks. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you about like this trick, which is like the corner of the eye. But sometimes I work from the edge. But I gotta quit because I've got an appointment to go to and I've got a bunch of stuff to do. So, you guys, next time, more portraiture. I'll give you that lecture about the development of portraiture, and you'll have an opportunity to practice some more. Oh, thank you. Oh, thanks, Carolyn. How do you get to her? Oh, on Croaky Cafe. Her name is, I will post it. So Carolyn's asking, where is she on Croaky Cafe? And her name, I can't remember her name. But I'll post the image in the chat, and then I'll try to find where she is on Croaky Cafe too, so that you can see more images of her. She's really beautiful to draw. So, but right now I've got to go, and so do you. So thank you, everybody. And I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Keep drawing, keep trying, and post your images, and I will post mine. Okay? Thanks, guys. I'm a mess. All right. I'll talk to you on Thursday. Remember, we're meeting online.